The following program contains scenes and language of a frank and explicit nature. Discretion is advised.
Episode 85 of Rare Form Radio is upon us, and 85 is a wonderful number because it makes me think about two of my favorite movies from 1985. And now that we're in the 80s numbers of these shows, it's making me think of movies every week. So this week being 85, I'm thinking of course, The Breakfast Club and Back to the Future. Arguably two of the best movies of the 80s. And the guest that's coming on the show for this month is someone who I talk films with a lot as well. So we're going to get into a little bit of that tonight. I almost called this podcast off tonight because I feel like absolute dog shit. And the reason I didn't call it off is because the person joining us is someone who is very easy to talk to, someone I've known for many years, but I don't know very well. So that's another reason why I'm excited about this month. And also, this person has their own podcast. So if I either lose consciousness or have to leave 3 or 4 times to go shit my pants, this guy can take over the duties and duties. See what I did there? And can hold down the fort until I get back. This person who you're about to meet is, how do I describe him? You know, it's a him now. He's new to the world of Rare Form. He's going to be new to a lot of you guys, but depending on the kind of music you listen to, you may know who he is. He is accomplished in many things. He is a musician, a rip-ass bass player, which I'm finding out more and more lately. And he's also a podcaster. So please give a warm welcome to my friend and my co-host for the month of March, Mr. Kyle Konkiel.
Yeah.
What's up, dude?
How are you? It is I, your boy. I'm good, man. I'm good. Thank you for having me. I really, really appreciate you having me on for the month of March. You texted me about this a couple of weeks ago, and you're like, hey, do you want to be my co-host for the month? And I was like, am I allowed to swear on here?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay. I was like, fuck yeah. I want to, hell yeah, do your podcast. So,
yeah. I was
You've already done 2 of my podcasts.
Yeah, you have a new podcast called Just Shut the Fuck Up, or do you say Just STFU? How do you describe it?
Well, to keep it family friendly for the Spotify and the Apple, I kind of just refer to it as Just STFU.
Okay.
It's funny because I didn't know what to call the podcast. My old podcast was kind of a generic title. It was Tour Bus Confidential, which I think is like a monthly like vlog. So it was really confusing for people who actually knew about the actual Tour Bus Confidential and then like my podcast called Tour Bus Confidential. Mm-hmm. So when I was like, all right, I'm doing a podcast again, what do I call it? And it turns out that, you know, your boy here, if he's in a good enough mood, I'm a blabbermouth. And there's times in my head when I'm having conversations with people and I'm just like, dude, just shut the fuck up. And so I just decided to call it Just Shut the Fuck Up.
I love it, dude. How many episodes of the Tour Bus Confidential did you do?
I did 11 episodes of Tour Bus Confidential, and I have now doubled that with Just STFU. I just released technically it's my 22nd episode, but I'm kind of branching off into different. So like right now it says episode 21, but technically that's my 22nd episode because anytime I do a podcast with any of the Bad Wolves band or crew, I call it the Ripcast. So
it's like an offshoot. It's like a a sequel or like a spin-off episode within your podcast.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I do here.
So it's a podcast within a podcast.
That's kind of what I do here with the Patreon episode. So every month, patron supporters, which we call dick fucks, they get an extra episode. They get an extra episode per month, and I don't consider those regular shows, so I don't even know what to call those. They don't have numbers, but I get what you're doing.
The dick fuck cast, dude.
Yeah, dude. I should call it the dick fuck show 1 through 5, whatever it is. That might be it, dude. Yeah. What are you drinking over there?
Well, I have a water here, but I find that when I'm talking a lot, I need something a little bit sparkly, and unfortunately, the only thing I have is this actually isn't terrible, but I've had some pretty not so great ones of this Kill Cliff.
Jam.
This is legendary lemon berry.
Perfect. I mean, it sounds
I like
healthy.
bubbles. Yeah.
I am under the weather because I got my second shot of the vaccine, the Moderna vaccine, and it fucked me up. So I am trying to, work my way back. I'm on the road to recovery. And if you ask 9 out of 10 doctors or nutritionists or anyone in the know, 9 out of 10 would tell you to drink Monster Energy. So that's why I'm here pounding this Monster, because I'm a health nut and I want to feel better. So that's what I'm doing. So this show is not sponsored by Monster, but they are the unofficial sponsor because I talk about them every week. I get them for free, so I may as well pump the brand. But yeah, dude, I'm a health nut. You and me, cheers. Cheers to you.
Yeah, cheers. Cheers, buddy. Normally this would be a Monster, but these are just like, I bought these like a couple months ago and I wasn't really the greatest fan of them. And I was like, well, now they're just sitting in my refrigerator. So every now and again, when I do a podcast, I'm like, oh, I've already had a Monster for the day. All right, let's just crank through one of these. I probably won't even finish it.
So did you also hit the inhaler a second ago?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I see. This is something I didn't know about you. So we both play bass. We both pound energy drinks when we're doing podcasts, and we both have little bitch lungs. So again, I feel like I have the right person here. What?
Actually, on the first podcast that we ever did, when we did Tour Bus Confidential, we actually talked about the fact that we are asthma brothers and the fact that you and I would never survive a zombie apocalypse because we would run out of inhalers.
When everyone else is like scourging for gasoline and food, we'd just be hitting up pharmacies looking for albuterol or some bullshit.
Yeah, or the Primatene mist inhalers, man. Those work really well if you're in a pinch.
Those are the over-the-counter ones, right?
Yeah, you can find them in your allergy aisle.
Those, when I was a kid, I would try to get those when like the real stuff, and it didn't work for me. My asthma was too extreme to be combated by some over-the-counter stuff. So maybe, who knows? Were you ever hospitalized for it as a kid?
Oh, all the time. I think the last time I went in, like between the ages of like from when I was born until right before puberty, I was in and out of the hospital all the time.
All for asthma or a bunch of shit?
Yeah. Yeah. So my asthma is allergy induced.
Okay.
So anytime it would get too polleny, and when I was younger, I'd have to go to the hospital.
And where did you grow up?
I grew up in the beautiful San Fernando Valley.
Okay.
I was born in Burbank. And I grew up in a town just outside of Burbank called Tahunga, California. Mm-hmm. And I spent all of my childhood years there, and I've moved places, but for the most part, I've lived in Tahunga for most of my life. Except now, I'm in NoHo now.
I'm a little surprised that you said that most of your asthma was allergy induced, because I grew up in Massachusetts, and every season change would send my body into a state of shock as far as asthma goes. And the winters were so bad for me. I spent 3 years in a row in the hospital on my birthday. It was a blast. It was a blast. And moving here, my asthma got way, way, way better, which is one of the perks of living here for me. But anyway, back to me being ill. Are you going to get vaccinated? Are you going to do this when you're eligible?
I already got the first dose of the Pfizer vaccine.
Good for you. I'm proud of you. That's great. That's great. And did you get any kind of ailments from that?
My arm was a bit sore for a day and a half, and that was it. I did hear that the Moderna vaccine is a little bit more gnarly on the side effects after the second dose than the Pfizer, but I mean, I won't know until I go in for my second dose. Yeah.
When are you getting the second one? Is it going to be while we're doing this?
Yeah. I'll get the second dose on the 21st.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
I'll let you know.
That'll be fun. We'll stay tuned this month to see how Kyle does on the second dose, because we're recording this on, what is it, Sunday night. And I got
it's the 28th.
I got my second shot of the Moderna on Friday at like noon. And by about 7 or 8 p.m., I was like, whoa, I am fucked. Like I felt like it feels like the flu without puking or really a whole lot of shitting. It's just like crazy body aches, hot flashes, and like massive fatigue. So it's all worth it. I mean, in the long run, it's worth it because, you know, my life, everyone's lives are fucked up from this, but especially what you and I do for a living has just been decimated the last year, like disappeared. And it's got to be really hard for someone like you because you're in a band called Bad Wolves, which seems to be very much on the up, you know, like catching the wave, getting some popularity. Like I actually didn't realize until, because I don't listen to a whole lot of music anymore, honestly. Like touring for the last 16 years has kind of ruined my love of music a little bit. But when I started seeing you post more about the band, I kind of just did some Googling. And then obviously when I knew you were coming on, I wanted to really dig into it. And I actually had no idea how popular this band actually was. Which
I don't even think I know how popular this band is.
I mean, going on Spotify and seeing how many like views you guys have, how many listens, I guess, is like shocking. You know,
it's weird. I don't think about that because like, I think growing up in Los Angeles and being around the music scene since I was like 13 years old, like maybe I'm just like, I'm not impressed with myself.
Right. I mean,
like, we could do better, boys. You know,
you have close to 3 million listeners a month.
Is that good?
I mean, I would say so.
All right.
Well, I would kill to have 3 million listeners for this podcast. You know,
so would I.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, your song, you guys did a cover of the Cranberries song "Zombie," and that fucker has 203, almost 204 million listens on Spotify.
That one I actually have kept track of because that was our first single we ever released, and that was the first and I think only song of ours to ever get played on the radio station out here, K-Rock. And within like a day or two, it got to 1 million views. And I checked a few weeks ago, and there's actually more views on the YouTube video than there are people in the United States.
That's fucking amazing. I mean, that's incredible. Like
that's when I was like, okay, you know, this song it's obviously, and to a lot of people, and even to me, you know, that song is definitely overplayed. But you know, I do appreciate, you know, all of that song. And, you know, Dolores O'Riordan, who was supposed to be on the track, and unfortunately she passed away the night before she was supposed to go into the studio.
Wait. She was supposed to be on the track with you guys?
Yeah. So Dan Waite, who is one of our PR guys at Better Noise Music UK or Better Noise Europe, he used to manage the Cranberries in the 90s.
Okay.
And they were looking for more songs. They were like, we don't have that one single. Like, you guys have good stuff, but we want that one song. And so my former singer had recorded a version of Zombie with, you know, a couple of people who we write songs with, Philip Naslam, Max Karen, Drew Falk, a couple other people. I can't remember who's all on the song, but so Tommy sent that to Dan, and he's like, oh, I used to manage the Cranberries. And so he sent it to Dolores. Dolores like called him, but he was in a meeting, and he actually sent us the voicemail. She was like super stoked about the song. She asked if it was okay if, you know, she's like, will you ask the boys if it's okay if I sing on the song? So she flew from Dublin to London. I don't remember the exact date. And then she was supposed to go into the studio that Monday, and she passed away that Sunday. That's late Sunday night, early Monday morning.
So basically, you guys recording that song may have killed her. So congratulations.
No, dude, it's funny. Some of the other members of the Cranberries, they like a couple years later, like I think like last year, one of the guys of the Cranberries was just like, I like the song too much. I don't think they should have released it.
Fair enough, dude. But you did.
I'm like, bro. But I mean, a lot of people gave us a lot of grief when we released that song because they're like, oh, you're just using someone's death to get ahead, make money. So, but before we even released the song, we had made it so that all of our proceeds that we would have made for that song gets donated to her children.
Oh, that's beautiful. Good for you guys.
Yeah. So in July of 2018, like, 5 months after the song came out on radio, we were able to donate a check for $250,000 to her family.
Okay. Does that sting a little bit?
A little. I'm not gonna lie.
I imagine you didn't expect it to have, over 200 million listens on Spotify alone and 300, 400, whatever million on YouTube. Might have been nice to keep some of that for yourselves.
You know what? It is what it is. I'm fine with it. Honestly, I don't think I would have gotten a chunk of that anyway. I'm not on that song.
Fair enough.
All those songs that are on all the songs that are on the first Bad Wolves record were already done when I joined the band.
Mm-hmm.
And it was cool though, because like playing songs live and I'm able to kind of just do whatever the hell I want. Like I rewrote, 50% of the bass lines that are on the record.
Interesting.
And I play them completely different live.
And does anyone give you grief for that? Do like diehard fans of the band that were there from the beginning, or have you been fully accepted to just kind of do your thing by the fan base?
Being a bass player, I don't think, because my name's on the record, I don't think that people I don't think it's like common knowledge that I haven't played on the record, but I do tell people if they ask, and I'll be like, I didn't play on that record.
Yep. Fair enough.
So,
was there any, it's a tough thing because if your first single is a cover song, that's such a gamble to make.
International smash hit.
Yeah, of course. I mean, think about bands like Orgy had the hit with Blue Monday, and nothing really much happened after that. It's like it's a gamble because if your first single as a band is a cover and it hits, great, it gets you going. But then the pressure of like, now let's hear your own music. How do you do with your own music? And it seems like it hasn't really hurt you guys much.
No. And honestly, we've been very fortunate with the bands that we've been on tour with, bands like Five Finger Death Punch, and people like to give Five Finger Death Punch a lot of shit, but they're great dudes. They take care of us. Bands like Breaking Benjamin, even Nickelback, dude. Like I love those guys more than anybody out there. They're the sweetest, and they're one of the best live bands ever. Bands like that really took us underneath their wing, took care of us. And fortunately, I'm not trying to, slap my dick down on the table here, but after Zombie, we had 5 consecutive number ones after Zombie. So fortunately it wasn't just, we weren't the one hit wonder cover song band.
It's huge. I mean, the numbers are against you in that sense, but luckily you guys found a way to push through. I guess that gives a lot of credit to the songwriting in the band and the live performance. Cause I know live, you guys seem like a really great, energetic band, which would you consider you guys a better live band than a studio band?
I mean, it depends on what your definition of better is, because I've always been one of those guys where when I go to see a show, I don't care if they play it perfect to the record. Mm-hmm. I want to see what they're going to do differently live. Cause if you listen to, any album, something, especially if there's guitar solos, there's always going to be something that's a little bit different live. Cause the guitar player is like, oh, I should have done this, so I'm going to play it live instead.
Sure.
And I never wanted to like watch somebody just stand there and play the record. That's never been fun for me. So ever since I was a little kid, I've kind of was just like, there's a lot in a performance. And I think, the group of guys that that I'm in the band with, Doc, Chris, and John, they know how to bring it. Like we've all been in metal bands for, I think combined, we have like 70 years of touring experience in metal bands.
It's huge. That's huge. And you mentioned your singer a minute ago, and you guys are currently in the in the hunt, or the door is
Yeah.
open for a new singer? How is that process going, and how do you go about that?
See, we are currently looking for a new singer. It's been really difficult, especially with COVID.
Sure.
Because we're all concerned for everybody's health, everybody's families. We want to make sure that we do this the right way. So we have had 5 auditions so far.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm even allowed to talk about this, but I'm gonna anyway. They can be mad at me later.
Listen, just do it, roll the dice, and deal with the consequences later. That's how I always do it.
So we had 5 auditions. I won't say who, but there was one guy that we had to fly out. Actually 2 people we had to fly out. So we made sure that they were, COVID tested and quarantined, and did all that stuff. And it's hard when you're in an environment like a rehearsal room, because Doc and I both do backing vocals, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna do backing vocals in a mask. I'm not.
Fair.
So I really kept my bubble super, super small during those couple of weeks of auditioning. I called out of work. I made sure that I had a negative COVID test, and I stayed to myself unless I was with the boys. The singer search and auditioning process is, when you're trying to replace your front man, is like one of the hardest things to do. Now, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of bands that have done it. Genesis, Van Halen. There's many, many bands who have gone on to be
AC/DC, Alice in Chains.
Yeah, successful with a new frontman. But there's also a lot of bands who haven't. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's like we're trying to make sure that we make the right move, not so much for like the band Bad Wolves as people knew it, but what's going to be best for us. We're looking for somebody that has, the star power, the vocal ability, and just is easy to work with, and yeah. So it's definitely an undertaking, and it has been probably the largest point of my stress the last month or so now. Yeah, no, 2 months now. But I really feel like we're going to find the right person for the band. And, because, and the one thing is that when you're a band, we're coming out with our 3rd record. Like, we've been writing our 3rd record for the last year. And to me, I really think the 3rd record is almost more important than the 2nd record, because you learn from all of your mistakes, and you learn from everything that worked from the past 2 records. And you can kind of combine it. And your 3rd record, I feel like, is one of the most important records of a band's lifetime, because I really feel like, you're really figuring out who you are as a band, what your sound is, what you're good at, where you're flawed, what needs work, and what doesn't.
Fair.
And,
and
I'm obviously not everyone's 3rd record is the same. There's been bigger albums after a 3rd record, but I really think the 3rd record is kind of is that canon that's going to point you in the, all right, where are we going? Where are we going? So, and then having to find a replacement singer on a 3rd record, it has been a bit stressful, but I am very hopeful for the future, and I'm very excited because, honestly, and I'm not even saying this, I have written stuff for this record, which is like new for me. But in my opinion, this is definitely my favorite material that I've heard of the band ever.
Sure. I imagine too, for you, like, since you weren't there at the beginning, you must be at a fully comfortable at this point. This will be your 3rd that you're recording on, your 2nd you're recording on.
This will actually be my 1st.
Okay. Oh, it is. Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So of course you're thrilled too, because you get to actually lay down what you do for the record. Oh, that's amazing. Good for you. And when it comes to the singer stuff, is it super important that this person does justice to the old music, or is it more important that they just bring something that's going to work going forward?
We're still trying to figure that out too, because like we're having people like audition with older songs,
Of course.
and then if they make it to a certain level, we send them a new song. And we've been happy with everything that we've gotten from almost everybody on the new songs.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if it's like, because we don't want a diet Tommy. We don't want a 2% Tommy. We don't want a vanilla Tommy coming in and just like sounding like our old singer did. I think that's too much of a safe bet, and people would see right through it.
Yep.
I want somebody who is talented, can write, and just have the Bad Wolves vibe, which, our former singer is a very energetic personality, and he's a very capable frontman, and he's very capable, like commanding frontman as well. So I think we really need to find somebody who has at least a similar, doesn't need to be all the way there yet, because you learn on the road, you learn, you gain confidence with every show that you play, but it's just let's just get a glimmer of that star power. You know what I mean?
Of course.
So yeah,
I mean, if you're going into it,
that's pretty much been it,
Yeah.
Just,
I mean, if you're going into it just trying to replace your singer, all you're probably going to do is disappoint people. If that's your main focus, is just replacing the guy to have a new guy sing the old stuff, it's only going to disappoint people. So you may as well look to the future and see what can this guy bring going forward. That seems to be the safest bet.
Yeah, and like I said, anybody who's had the opportunity to sing on some of our new material, I've been surprised, and it's just funny how I'm kind of being able to peek into their heads about, I can see where they're coming from because I know what the original sounds like with the singer that it was intended for.
Mm-hmm.
So, and kind of see where their strong points are, and how focused they are on some parts, because especially these people who have auditioned, they are familiar with our material. So they are also used to hearing a song sound a certain way. Now, if we send you a track that nobody's ever heard before, and we send you the track that has the vocals on it, we send you the lyrics, and you just, all right, cool, that's how the melody goes, that's how this goes. You delete the vocal track, and then you kind of do your own thing. I feel like it's you're able to bring out more in people being themselves instead of trying to sound like, and so far, like I said, I've been really surprised to hear the stuff that people have come up with,
How many,
and hearing their real voice.
There you go. Yeah. How many of the people that have submitted have just been laughably bad?
No one has been laughably bad.
That's a bummer.
Okay. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to lie. We have gotten a lot of submissions. Only 5 people made it into the room.
Okay.
I think we've got like 20 submissions.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
So the other 15 were like, oh, fuck, I really wish I could tell this story, but I can't. I'll tell you after.
Okay, fine. Please do.
I can't.
Damn it.
But they have gone from pretty fucking bad to they're almost there, but it's not the right tonal quality.
Right.
So,
and
tonal cadence.
You guys are also at a point now, success-wise, it seems like, where you don't need to concede or what's the word I'm looking for? Oh my God, you don't need to sacrifice anything, you can wait to find the right person. And luckily, there's going to be no shows for at least another 6 months. So you have time to get the right guy. Yeah.
And I'm definitely looking forward to that because, not only have I written for this record, I'll be playing on this record. I'll actually be doing all of the super low, like death metal growls. That's my thing. I do them live. It's kind of like mid to low, like death metal type screams. And I've gone in the studio a couple of times, and the whole band is just like, Jesus, Konky. Like, you could literally just do that on a whim. And they call me Two Take Tony.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, I mean, you and I have so many things in common as far as like we talk about video games a lot, which we're going to get into at some point here. We talk about movies. Like I said, we both play bass. We both kind of work in the same circles. And that's Kyle and I know each other because he works for a company in LA called Mates, which is like if you tour in music, you deal with mates. And you know,
if you don't know who Mates is, your band isn't big enough.
That's exactly right. Mates is where we keep all the Jane's Addiction gear. When we need stuff, you know, I'll go to Mates and Kyle will fucking help me push cases out and help me pack a truck. And that's how we've known each other for how many years now? 8, 9 years, maybe more than that. I don't really know exactly how long.
10 years.
I had 10 years.
10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and my first day at Mates was December 3rd, 2010.
Wow, 10 years I've known. That's crazy to me. It's like when you tour for a long time, Mates feels like part of your family. And I have to say, like since I've been working with Mates and since you've been there, you and I have always gotten along great, and we've talked shop as far as bass playing and music, and like I said, video games. And now that I'm hearing more of what you do and seeing you do these like not bass tutorials, but like bass play-alongs, like playthroughs of some of your parts. And you are an incredible bass player. I really have to say, like,
so
the kind of music that you do is something that I am not able to do. And I consider myself a pretty good bass player. But the speed involved with the kind of music you play and the fact that you also do finger picking, you know, you use your fingers a lot too, is something I just can't do. When did you start playing bass? Who were your inspirations? And how close are you to where you want to be as a bass player?
Honestly, you know, I do really appreciate all those nice things you said about me. I think I'm a fucking trash bass player, to be honest with you.
Well, you're an idiot.
When I first started, I started playing. I got my first bass guitar when I was 14, but I didn't actually start playing the bass until I was about 18 or 19. And it was kind of out of necessity. There's like, you know, growing up in Southern California, like everybody wants to be fucking Randy Rhoads. Everybody wants to be Eddie Van Halen. Everyone wants to be the star lead guitar player. Like, look at all these sweep arpeggios. Look at all these bitches coming after me. You know? And like I was a good rhythm player. That's always been my strong suit. I'm okay. Like if I need to be at leads, but my strong point has always been, you know, I'm a pocket rhythm player. And you know, my friend's band, they had like some guitar player playing bass who was just like a fill-in and he lived far away. I was like, why don't you just fucking kick that guy out? I'll come and play bass. They're like, yeah, right. And then I was like, no, seriously, I'm going to come try out. Just give me an hour of your time. And if I'm not the guy, you'll know it within the first 10 minutes. So I went out and I bought like an Ibanez Soundgear bass, and I bought this Carvin Redline, like half stack Redline 500 or whatever it was. And I showed up, and I remember I learned one of their songs at home over MySpace.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah. And they're like, you already know this song? I was like, fuck yeah, I know the song. Oh, and the other one's on there too. And and they were like, yeah, you're the fucking guy. Like, it's mainly the right hand. Like that's what really got people kind of looking at me, and why I've been able to step in rooms with guys like Dino Cazares and, you know, fucking Rob Flynn and, you know, a bunch more. I'm not going to name drop too terribly much in this. But I realized I was a really good player, especially when the drummer is not playing to a click and he kind of, you know, speeds up, slows down. I'm really good at adapting to any type of drummer I've ever played with. But my favorite drummers are obviously the ones who play to a click, because then I don't have to think about them.
Oh, interesting.
You know,
interesting. Because I actually, part of me as a bass player feels differently. I kind of like the guys that float a bit, because Which actually makes sense because my favorite bass player of all time is Eric Avery from Jane's Addiction. And that band, if you put Jane's to a click, it just doesn't sound right. Part of the life of that band is that floating flow where it's not quite right. So that's more the kind of playing I do. So, but I guess if you're playing fast and trying to be like a machine, you need to have that metronome type dude. But I like the heartbeat of like a sort of a flowy kind of
reggae kind of funk.
Just like you start the show like being a bass player, the most important relationship that you have in a band is with your drummer. Like you guys are everything. Like I don't really care what the singer's doing. I don't really care what the guitar player's doing. I am sharing a mind with the drummer. And so when you kind of play the way I do and the kind of stuff I like, when the show starts, you don't know how it's going to go. The whole show might be too slow. The whole show might be faster than you could ever keep up with. But I also get where you're coming from. When you have someone that plays to a click, you have consistency. You know what you're getting every night, which is also massive. Yeah.
Well, when you're the type of music that we were playing was very much in the vein of bands like Slipknot and Fear Factory,
right?
Where we're doing fucking 16th note triplets at fucking 200, 220. But playing in bands like that, and then being able to go and learning how to play slower, and then kind of learning out where I can fill gaps, and then kind of always having that click in my ear, like it kind of just becomes second nature,
right?
To where like I know how to make a click groove, because me and my drummer have a very similar time signature as well. He's not on point with the click, like he's not just like with the snare on the downbeat.
Okay,
he's a cunt hair behind the beat, and so am I. And that's kind of where me and him live, and that's where I kind of like all the stuff that I like, quote unquote, wrote to Bad Wolves. I wrote it on the road, just vibing with the drummer, like seeing what he does where, and like kind of filling in empty parts where I'm like listening to his feet. I'm like, why didn't the fucking bass do this on the record? Like, because it sounds better. It sounds more full. It sounds, or like little runs here and there. And, but coming from, more techie, syncopated, Meshuggah, Fear Factory, I had to have the right hand. And that's what everyone's always known me for, is that like, that's the guy who can do 16th notes at 250, and I just kind of like my main influence during that time was Alex Webster. But at that time I didn't really know many bass players. Alex Webster from Cannibal Corpse.
Okay. Yeah. I'm bad with all this kind of stuff. So, okay. I'm happy you mentioned it. Okay.
But as I grew into my instrument, I didn't actually start growing into my instrument until I was like 24, 25. And I started like learning about not only different bass players, but different types of music, different types of players. And, I would, listen to a whole bunch of different stuff like James Jamerson, Larry Graham. I'd listen to a whole lot of old funk like Prince, Rick James. And then I kind of found my style by ripping off like dudes like Billy Gould from Faith No More, Mark King from Level 42, this band, James Leach, who plays in this band Sixth, which they are a progressive metal band out of London. Like out of all the prog bands that are out right now, like these guys, like they released this fucking dope record in 2006, and it was a way ahead of everything. Like so much, it was so far ahead of everything, it literally went over everybody's head.
Right.
But this dude is one of the sickest bass players out there. And I think similar in tuning and in style, we both use pick, we both use finger, and we both do a lot of slap and pop. And so if I'd have to pick two, it'd probably be James Leach from Sixth and Billy Gould from Faith No More, just because they're both really aggressive hitters too. And that's why I don't really use thick picks, because I literally beat the shit out of my bass guitar. And if my picks were any heavier, I'd be going out of tune constantly.
See, that's funny, because I also play real heavy, but I also use heavy picks. So the problem that does for me is it gives me intense pain right in I call it the drumstick, the chicken drumstick of my hand.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
know, the meat part of my thumb. When I'm done with the show, I don't really play anymore, but when I was done with the show, this part would be all swollen up and it hurts so bad. But it's funny you mentioned Faith No More, because in a lot of your playing, and especially watching your playthroughs on YouTube and Instagram, you do a lot of slapping, a lot of slap bass, and I get a real Faith No More vibe from that.
I mean, dude, like me not even realizing it, because, you know, when I was playing in my first real band as a bass player, you know, the influences of that band were, you know, super obvious. Like, wow, these guys really love Meshuggah, Korn, and Fear Factory. But the way I played wasn't like any of those bass players, because I was like, you know, it's so shot when bass players just play what the guitar players play. Now, keep in mind, as I've gotten older, I do play a lot of the same stuff that the boys in Bad Wolves play, but there are certain little cadences that I, you know, change and patterns that I change. I try to match up with the drummer as much as I can, but anytime I get like a funky or a groovy beat, and I hear it in my head, and I'm just like, oh, that needs to be played slap. Like that needs to. Or if I hear something where in one of our like more ballady or radio songs, I'm like, oh, that song needs to be played super soft with, like, I got to try to get like a B15 sound out of that. So I got to play it super soft, roll that tone knob all the way back, and just let the low end do its job.
You have to play it from your penis is what you got to do.
Yeah.
Play it from deep in the root of your penis.
Yeah.
That's the best way to go about it. Yeah. Dick root. Oh man. As much as I love this conversation, I think a lot of people don't know what the fuck we're talking about when it comes to time signatures. So I want to ask you a really important question, because it's been a hot topic in my life for the last couple of weeks. Who's the biggest action movie star of all time?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Without question?
Without question.
Thank you, dude, so much. I have been getting so angry with people because I made this proclamation a couple weeks ago and put it to the test. Like, convince me that he's not the best. And motherfuckers bringing Jason Statham and The Rock and Van Damme into the conversation. And the only one that's even... Go ahead.
He's literally in a movie called Last Action Hero.
Thank you. Thank you.
Like, that's a bold enough statement as it, but I mean, just look at the resume. He was fucking the Terminator. He was fucking killing predators. I mean, dude,
Conan,
and he was fucking
Conan the Barbarian.
Conan the Barbarian, Suburban Commando, or Commando. I'm sorry, Suburban Commandos with Hulk Hogan.
Same shit.
Yeah. But I mean, just like look at like not even like his super dude. Fucking. What's the sci-fi one? There's fucking
Total
Running
Recall,
Man.
The Running Man. Total
Recall.
I watched it 2 nights ago.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't deny his power from like 1982 to, I mean, fuck, up until like 2005.
Yeah.
Maybe even later.
I've had I brought it to my Facebook too. Facebook is a lot more private for me. It's more like family and friends and
God, I wish mine was, man.
I made the decision from the beginning. Like I wish I could promote this podcast on there because I could probably build it pretty big with family and friends, but I don't want my family to ever hear this because there's things I say in this about them that I don't want them to know. And so like, if this podcast fails in the future, I know it's because I don't want my family to know. But, so I brought this question to Facebook, and you'd be surprised how many people tried to argue with me that Tom Cruise was just as much as an action star as Schwarzenegger. And I'm like,
it's not the same, dude.
Get the fuck out of here.
Same.
Yeah. Tom Cruise is a blockbuster actor. Mission Impossible, of course, Top Gun, but I don't consider Top Gun to be an action movie either.
Yeah. What's more exciting, Top Gun or True Lies? That's what I fucking thought.
I'm like, dude, when I had this thought about Schwarzenegger, True Lies didn't even come to mind for me. That's how huge Schwarzenegger is. I didn't even consider True Lies, and that's an incredible action movie.
Yeah, it's an action comedy with fucking. I mean, dude, look at that cast. You got fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger. Mm-hmm. You got fucking Jamie Lee Curtis. You got fucking
Tom Arnold.
Tom Arnold. I mean, come on. Like,
so what do you think about the discussion? The only person that comes close, and you may have been following along with this too.
I have not.
Stallone is the only person that comes close in the
He was
argument.
my number two. He was my number two.
Now talk me through why Stallone is your number two.
All right. So first we got to get, the real action movies out of the way. Like, I'm not even talking about Rocky because those are dramas.
Thank you. That's everything. That's by the way, we did not script this. This is all I wanted you to say is that Rocky is not an action movie, because I had motherfuckers tell me of course it's action. It's all fights. And I'm like, have you ever seen Rocky? The first Rocky, there's almost no boxing. It's a drama about a guy and his wife and a guy just like wanting to get back into it. But thank you. But let's keep going with this.
I mean, compare First Blood to Rocky 2 and tell me they're the same genre. Now, The Predator and First Blood, totally. But like I don't count. Like I like just like Raging Bull isn't an action movie.
No.
Yep. The Wrestler isn't an action movie.
No.
Just because there's physical aspects of those films that, like, you got to have a death toll of at least 12
Thank you.
to be an action movie.
Valid. It's a valid point. Even like something like Rocky 4, which is like over the top spectacle.
Or over the top.
Oh my God. Yeah, of course. It's another great one. But like, I consider both of those actually to be sports movies, which is a totally separate genre of movie.
Like a baseball movie.
Right. Like, yeah.
Angels in the Outfield and Rocky 4 are in
both
the same
action
category.
movies. They're fucking action movies. Everyone knows that. No, I love these kind of debates about like who's the best in the genre. But I just feel like Schwarzenegger to me is untouchable as far as being the absolute king. And one person that kind of makes sense, Jackie Chan is an interesting one because of the international stardom of Jackie Chan. Like we don't, in America, we see Jackie Chan as being like, he's an action star because a handful of his movies were successful here.
Yeah.
But in Europe and Asia and around the world, he is a mega super ultra star. I don't even know how many movies he's been in, but it's probably 200 movies. I have no idea. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, the movies that, were popular here that I consider more action movies, like Rumble in the Bronx. Because I mean, I and the reason why I consider that more action than drama, first of all, the script is bullshit. Second of all, there's a lot of, it's like, that's what that movie is. Like, you're not going to see Rumble in the Bronx for the plot. You are going to that movie to see Jackie Chan kick some choreographed kung fu ass.
Thank you.
And like, that's why you go see Schwarzenegger. All right, but here's the important question. Number 3. Who's your number 3? Because we know it's not Jackie Chan.
My number 3 actually might be Van Damme.
Van Damme?
It really might be Van Damme, because who else is there? Steven Seagal is in there. I actually probably like Steven Seagal's movies more.
Bruce Willis.
Ooh.
Kurt Russell.
Nah.
I'm talking about 80s, 90s Kurt Russell.
No.
Anything past 1995.
What's action besides the Escape From movies?
Backdraft.
Is that an action movie? I guess it would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because all right, this is where we're splitting hairs, because I consider it to be like action drama because it's literally about firefighters fighting fire.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of fire in that movie.
There's a lot of fire.
But there's a lot of fire. And I mean, if there wasn't as much fire, maybe it is still a drama. I think I'm kind of splitting hairs here. But I mean, dude, and we didn't even talk about Cliffhanger either. Is that considered? I mean, that's got to be an action movie.
Honestly, I've never seen it. What the fuck is Cliffhanger about? I know it's Stallone, right?
Yeah, it's Stallone fucking hanging off cliffs.
Doesn't sound very good to me. Like, I think I'd rather watch.
It's a tense thriller. I mean, it's not really a thriller. It's a tense action movie where it's like, there's a lot of close calls and
okay.
That's why I still consider it an action movie.
It sounds like shit, if you ask me. I'll give it a whirl.
It is.
Maybe I'll do I do these like Patreon only shows where sometimes I'll like do a movie commentary, like talk about it as it goes. Maybe I'll do that with cliffhanger on my first watch through.
Dude. All right. As someone who is another, movie fan like myself, I'm going to give you 3 movies that you need to watch, and everybody who's listening to this needs to watch. All right. So we all know how bad Nick Cage's career was. He's still acting, but I'm more of a fan of his career the last 5 years than I have since fucking Face Off.
Mandy, dude.
Mandy
is unbelievable.
Mandy, Color Out of Space. Literally, it's a fucking movie adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft.
Mm-hmm.
And fucking Willy's Wonderland.
Okay. Now, I've seen Mandy, and I fucking loved it. The vibe of it, the music amazing. Of it. And that's the director that did Beyond the Black Rainbow, right? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the director, I forget his name right now. Frank, please put it on the screen so everyone knows. But Mandy has a super cool vibe. It's a revenge movie where Nicolas Cage is just seeking revenge, and he kicks some fucking ass, and he's in his tighty whities for some of it, which is great.
Yeah.
Color Out of Space was a crazy vibe. It was a cool movie. I didn't love it though. Like I didn't love it as much as I heard it was great. I didn't love it as much as I wanted to though.
No, and I don't mean like, I'm just saying like those are examples of like decent movies that are like better than The Wicker Man. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
Like and for a weird H.P. Lovecraft, like fuck, I love weird. Like I love when science fiction and horror combine into like this. I don't fuck like Mother. Like you ever seen Mother?
Of course, yes.
I love that shit.
Yeah.
When it's like I have no fucking idea what's going on, and I'm scared shitless.
Right.
Right. And it's so weird because The Color Out of Space, like I felt like Annihilation. Did you ever see Annihilation?
Yes. Yeah.
I felt like those 2 movies are way more similar than they're not.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I see what you mean.
The whole I forget what they called the fucking the dissonance and fucking Annihilation, but like that whole thing is it's all Lovecraftian, you know. And I saw Annihilation first, and then they're like, oh, there's this movie Nick Cage is being fucking weird in this literally movie adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's novel. And then, dude, if you haven't seen, is it Willy's Wonderland or Wally's Wonderland?
I believe it's Willy's,
dude. But it's like Chuck E. Cheese, Five Nights at Freddy's, fucking not. But Nicolas Cage doesn't say a fucking word.
See, that's what I heard. So
physical acting.
My buddy Johnny just because he like we talk about movies a lot. He tells me what to watch, and you're gonna love this. Don't watch this. He told me not to bother with that one because Nicolas Cage. It's just not a good movie. But if you're saying you love it, I'll probably watch it tonight. But
all right, I'm not saying that I'm like I love it.
I'm saying movie. It's your favorite movie of all time.
I'm saying if you like campy, cheesy, gory flicks just for funsies, this is totally a just for funsies movie. Like you could have a couple of the boys over, maybe have some popcorn, pizza party with some root beer. It's one of those type of flicks.
Okay. It's just fun.
And as somebody who's probably gone to a Chuck E. Cheese or something along those lines as a child, like I did, like, I don't know, maybe that's where it hits home.
Listen, I'm not trying to brag.
Motherfuckers don't go to Chuck E. Cheese no more.
I'm not trying to brag, but I've spent time with the man who started Chuck E. Cheese, my friend.
See?
Do you know who that is?
I don't. Who started Chuck E. Cheese?
His name is Nolan Bushnell, and he's also the guy that created Atari.
No shit.
Yep. Huh. The same guy that started Atari also started Chuck E. Cheese. And the story of we're getting off topic, but I'll tell you that story another time. But right now, I had this thought last week. It's funny that you brought up Nicolas Cage because it feels like right now he's putting out about 7 movies a year, and I don't know how he's doing it, but I feel like he's filming movies at the same time on sets that are side by side or something because he's literally putting out 2 or 3 movies a year, and I don't know how. And they're all of them are these movies that there's no advertising for. There's no anything. All of a sudden, you just put on the Showtime app, or you put on Shudder, or you put on fucking Netflix, and like, well, what the fuck? What Nick Cage movie is this? And when did he get a black beard? Like, why does he look like that? But he's in a new movie every like 3.5 weeks. His output is crazy, and he's only doing weird stuff. Did you see the movie where it's like him and Selma Blair, where they're like psychotic parents trying to kill their kids?
Oh, I think I did.
It was good. It was really good.
Oh, didn't they have a sequel to that?
It's called Mom and Dad. What the fuck's it called?
Oh, you know what? I was thinking of The Babysitter. Sorry.
What's that one?
The Babysitter movie, but I don't want to spoil it, but it's, it's a slash.
Okay.
Sure. Like homage to 80s slasher films. And there's a sequel. Okay. And that's what I was thinking of.
You got to see this movie called, come on, motherfucker. It's called, I'm looking up Selma Blair's IMDb right now, but it was her and Nick Cage, and it's called Mom and Dad.
Mom and Dad. Sounds familiar.
It's this movie where like something happens in the world where parents all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Parents just across the world start slaughtering their children.
Jesus Christ.
Obviously, whoever wrote it has to be a parent and is probably like had this fantasy of like killing their kid someday. But it was enjoyable. It's ridiculous.
I love it.
He's over the top, of course, because that's how he has to be. So I will watch Cliffhanger if you watch Mom and Dad.
All right, I'll watch Mom. I'm not even telling you to watch Cliffhanger. That movie's terrible.
Oh no, I'll watch Willy's Wonderland, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'll do that for sure.
But no, I heard that he's doing all these movies because like he literally has to because of the extravagant lifestyle that he's so accustomed to.
It's probably to pay for that fucking jacket that he bought. Did you see the Nicolas Cage jacket that he bought?
The pink leather jacket?
Yes, dude.
It's so dope.
Why did he do that?
Why wouldn't he do that?
Fair question. That's a fair question. That motherfucker
owns a jet, probably. I mean, with the money he spent, he better have his own plane.
I just love that he was such an Elvis fanatic that he married his daughter. Like I love Elvis so much, I'm gonna fuck his daughter. Like what's the best trinket you could have?
His daughter was a babe though too.
True. Man. How do I go about getting you off the show and getting Nick Cage on for the next 3 weeks? I know you wouldn't be offended.
No.
If he's looking for work, man, he may as well come do it.
I mean, I might have an in.
For real?
For real.
Dude, no joke. I will suck your dick or make someone suck your dick if you get Nick Cage on this podcast somehow.
I'll see. It might be kind of a whim, but there is a direct connection.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I'm not talking about a little like, oh, I know him. Like this motherfucker came from his balls. You know what I mean?
Oh, shit. Okay. So that sounds like it's one of his kids. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Or at least at bare minimum, get him on your show and just have me on to kind of like, I'll co-host with you on that one or something. You know what I mean?
What if I just get him to record a video and say, hi, Dan and Kyle, and some other crazy Nick Cage shit?
If you could get one that says, this is Nick Cage, and you're listening to Rare Form Radio with Dan Cleary, I won't suck your dick, but I'll jerk you off with my asshole. I promise you that. Because sucking your dick is gay. Jerking you off my asshole is just like something that bros do. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
No, you do it for me.
It's just a butt sock.
That's it. That's all it is. It's my butt. It's dirty. It's not like there's no love in there.
There's poo in there.
Yeah, there's poo.
There's last week's Taco Bell left in there. Come on.
There you go. There you fucking go. What happened to this interview? It just went off the rails, and that's fine. You know what it is? It's the Monster and whatever. What are you drinking? Motor oil? What is it again over there?
Yeah, motor oil. Yeah.
Perfect.
Castrol's, yes.
Oh my God. Hey, before I forget, where can people find Mr. Kyle Konkiel on social media?
At KS Konkiel on Instagram and Twitter. That's KSKONKIEL. And you can find my fucking lovely podcast on Google, Spotify, Apple, all the majors. I don't do any of that Podbean stuff. So if you don't have Google, Apple, or Spotify, then you're shit out of luck. And it's just STFU.
I want to thank Kyle too, because Kyle's the reason I have this new microphone. When I did his
SM7.
When did I do that with you? In August? Is that when we did the podcast?
September.
Okay.
September.
So I asked him, the microphone that you see him using right there, I was like, what is that? I think it sounds great. Because I don't know gear. That's another thing. Whenever Kyle and I see each other, he starts talking about all this bass gear that he has. And I just kind of like nod. I'm like, that's fucking cool, dude. And I have no idea what you're talking about. I just don't know about gear. I don't know about microphones. So you're the one that told me to get this. It's great. I mean, that's good for you, because all it will do is help you and help your career and help your band. For someone who is a guitar tech and deals with gear for a living, the fact that I don't know shit is not a good thing. It just shows you that my personality is so great that people keep hiring me, but I don't keep my job because of my technical abilities.
Well, I mean, when you're working for, guys like, Dave Navarro, I mean, what you need to know in that setup isn't what I need to know in my setup. I mean,
Sure.
He's running a couple touring reverbs, maybe a Roland Jazz Chorus, JCM 800 or a JVM 2000, something along those lines,
Close-ish.
And that's pretty much, and that's everything, maybe got a couple ABY switchers, like there's not a whole lot to that rig, because he knows what he likes for a clean tone. He knows what he likes for a dirty tone. He knows what he likes for an overdriven tone, and that works for him. So that's what you need to know.
I have this mic because of you. And I also moved the podcast from SoundCloud to Anchor after speaking to you, because Anchor sends it to more places than SoundCloud does. And I think I feel like I've left a bunch of SoundCloud people behind, because I have people sending messages being like, are you not doing the show anymore? It's like, no, dude, I moved it over to, anyway, it's a whole big thing, but,
I mean, you can still upload this shit. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, you can upload to Anchor, you can do that. And then you can upload it to SoundCloud. But like me, I'm a lazy piece of shit. I literally just want to put my podcast up and not think about it.
That's what I do as well. That's the same exact thing. Yeah. And I would almost rather lose the SoundCloud people than put in more effort to make them happy. You know what I mean?
I will say the one thing with SoundCloud that Anchor doesn't quite have. I mean, as much reach as Anchor does have compared to SoundCloud, with being able to put it on Spotify, Apple, Google, all the big daddies. SoundCloud always has I had so many random fucking plays on my shit. Like, I like, why the fuck does this episode have 11,000 plays? And then like my next episode would get like 3. You just get weird. Random people who like come in and out.
Sometimes there's no rhyme or reason. Like, I know the last episode I did of this show, the 2 ago, episode 83, I think it was. Have you been following any of this Marilyn Manson stuff that I'm kind of wrapped up in?
I listened to that podcast where you talked about it.
So obviously
because I knew that you worked for him, and I mean, dude, they've been blasting your name all over the internet.
It's fucking weird. It's weird when like someone in my family is like, "Hey, how come you're on the Huffington Post today?" It's like, oh god, because
I saw it through just like Metal Injection, Loudwire, Blabbermouth. I was like,
so obviously, my that episode is the most views or the most attention I've ever had for obvious reasons. But you're right. For all the other ones, sometimes there's no rhyme or reason as to how many catch on to it or not. But I try not to get too caught up in it. I just do the show, dude, enjoy it, and
I do it for fun. Like, I tell people, like, if you want to sponsor the podcast, you can. Dude, I haven't checked my Just STFU podcast email in fucking 3 months, dude. So it's like, even if someone's trying to sponsor the podcast, I ain't seeing it.
Right.
I just do it for fun.
Sure.
Like, I like to talk to people, and like the whole point of my podcast, like when I first started, I didn't know who I wanted to be or what I wanted to be. But as my podcasting skills and, getting older, I just want to talk to people who excel in their fields. They don't have to be musicians. Like, dude, I've been fortunate enough to have, guys like fucking Jimmy Church, who was on Coast to Coast AM, Mike Catherwood, who was on Loveline, and Kevin and Bean in the morning on K-Rock. Randy Williams, who's a Sifo and Wing Chun Kung Fu. He's like one of the last grandmasters in fucking Wing Chun Kung Fu. And I've just had all these different amazing people on the show. And for the most part, like, if it's out of my realm, I just let motherfuckers talk. I'll come in and chime in. But like, if it's music related, I try not to really talk about music too much, because I'm not trying to be like, my guitar player, Doc Coyle, who has a podcast, who's really great. It's called The X-Man. He talks to people who used to be in other bands and now are doing other shit. But it's a really music centric podcast. I'm not trying to be like Jamie Josta's show. I'm not trying to be like Rob Flynn or whomever has a music podcast. Yes, I happen to be in a band and I'm in the music world, but I'm not trying to limit myself to be just another music podcast. I want to talk to as many different people as I can, just, out of curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I had Jimmy Church on, like, we went through, he did talk about Joe Rogan a little bit too long. I had to kind of edit it down a little bit. But we went from everything from fucking talking about political climates and aliens and whatever. I try not to be too political on my show, because it's fucking, dude, I'm so fucking tired of politics. But we just having different types of conversations with different people. And sometimes I have guests where I have to steer that ship, and that's fine. And that helps me, because if I'm just trying to fill like 3 or 4 minutes of speaking, I know how to do that now.
Right.
But there are other times where I'm in the back seat, and that's totally fine too. Like, I don't mind driving and I don't mind being a passenger, as long as it's a good, genuine conversation that I'm having with people.
I've never made this analogy before, and I feel like you being here is what's going to make this so perfect. I feel like being an interviewer is also like being a bass player, where you kind of have to know when to just sit back, hold it down, and kind of let other people come forward and shine. And then when there's a moment when the bass needs to like kick you in the balls, you step forward and kind of guide things a bit. Because I think an important part of doing this is knowing when to just, like you said, shut the fuck up, let someone talk. And if they start losing the point, change the subject, pull it apart, whatever. But or
you can bring it right back. It
constantly
really just,
learning.
Yeah. And honestly, like in the format of podcasting, like, I don't even really consider it to be like an interviewer. I'm trying to be more of a conversationalist.
Yeah,
or a
kind of the same thing.
Communicator.
Right.
And that's one thing that I've definitely been trying to do over this last year. One of the many fucking things that I've like dipped my little pinky toes into is just trying to be a better communicator. And because I've noticed so much when you talk to people, especially people who you don't know very well, you're not listening to what they're saying. You're just waiting for your turn to talk. So now I'm trying to actually listen to like everybody who I have on the show, and just any conversation I have with anybody. I'm not waiting for my turn to talk. I'm like actually listening, digesting, wrapping my brain around what they're trying to communicate to me, and offer the best that I can in return to that specific conversation. Oh, fuck.
Let's close this out with, give me 3 people that would be like a dream to have on your podcast. 3 people who you're dying to talk to.
Ooh, and this could be anybody.
Anybody who's alive. Anyone who like could actually make it there.
One would be Christopher Walken.
Oh, dude, that's good.
See, short side note here. So one of my friends that I went to high school with, his dad grew up in Philly and in the New York Broadway scene. And he used to do Broadway plays with Christopher Walken before Christopher Walken was Christopher Walken.
Okay.
And I have so many questions about mainly that part of his life, not about like, you know, Christopher Walken now, but like Christopher Walken, the heroin addict Broadway star. Like that's
a story.
what
Right, sure.
I want the real deets. Who else? I mean, I would love to have, you know, someone like, you know, George Norrie or Bob Lazar or Jeremy Cordell or whomever, like, someone really prominent in alien UFO such and such. And then I gotta pick one music person.
While you think of that, I will say that Bob Lazar would be on my list if Rogan hadn't already done the most perfect interview with Bob Lazar of all time.
Oh, that's great. It was great.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Maybe Axl Rose, just to say.
Shit. That's good.
Just to say, you know?
Has he ever been on one?
I don't think so, dude.
I don't think he has either. Because I feel like if someone did a deep dive with Axl, that would be everywhere.
It would be epic.
Oh.
Like if you just like, and I really feel like at first I would have to really drive the conversation. I have to be really pushy, but I think you know, maybe get like a little glass of wine or something in front of him and open him up. And I bet he could go for hours and just feed into it. You know, it doesn't matter what he's talking about. If it's positive or negative, just feed into that side of it. And I bet you he could go for hours.
That's really good. Those are 3 good ones. That's good. That's
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Christopher Walken.
I'm normally pretty bad.
That was a curveball. I like that one. That was good.
I'm pretty bad at being put on the spot. So I was just like, for some reason, Christopher Walken was the first one that came to mind.
Oh, it was a great call. That's a really great call. As far as like eccentric actors, that's a very, very good call. I think I would enjoy talking to Harrison Ford, even though he makes interviews he makes interviews incredibly awkward, and I think I'm okay with that. You know, like he just doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't give a fuck if there's a massive lull in the conversation. He'll just let it sit there. And man.
Side note. When you started the podcast, you actually mentioned 2 of my favorite movies from the 80s, The Breakfast Club and Back to the Future.
Dude, check this shit out right here. My little John Bender.
Oh yeah.
And
hell
actually,
yeah.
Next to that.
Smoke up, Johnny. Look at that guy.
My little alien baby. Smoke up, Johnny. And actually, Breakfast Club is it's in my top 3 favorite movies of all time. And
it's the best John Hughes movie. I don't care what anybody fucking says.
Well, I hope that's not even up for debate, but I know
I hope not either.
Someone would say 16 Candles or Pretty in Pink. Those people can definitely fuck off. They're fine movies, but when you're trying to capture
Andrew Clark, front and center.
Front and center. What is this? Get this out of here.
Get this.
When you're trying to capture what it's like to be an uncomfortable teenager where you don't really know who you are yet, and you're so stuck in this, you know, this is the clique that I live in. I am an athlete. Yeah. I do athletic things. I am a pothead. This is what I do. It really nailed it in how anyone can kind of become friends if given the opportunity. You know, I mean,
dude, even up to like dude, I graduated high school in 2004. All right.
Okay.
I mean, even in the early 2000s, like that shit was still the same. People were still cliquey. The preppies hung out with the preppies. The metalheads hung out with the metalheads. The punk rockers hung out with the punk rockers. The goths hung out with the goths. You know, the you know, and so on and so forth. And I don't know. I think because I watched that movie for the first time while I was in high school, and I had a crush on the goth girl. You know, but I didn't know where I laid. I was kind of in between John Bender and the other homie, the nerdy one.
Yep, Brian Johnson.
Brian Johnson.
Yeah,
I was in between those two because I wasn't quite a stoner because I didn't really smoke reefer. But I wasn't really quite a nerd. I guess being a metalhead, you're literally in between, you know.
Yep.
But yeah, like I really felt that movie. And then Back to the Future is just fucking good. That soundtrack, Huey Lewis and the News, Jesus Christ.
Absolutely. Gonna go back in time. It's so fucking gonna go back in time. It's fucking great. And yeah, I always saw myself as more a mix between Allison the goth girl and John Bender. Like I was more Allison because I was weird and I dressed all in black and I did have horrible dandruff and I was the gross kid in school. But I also was funny like Bender is and like didn't give a fuck the way Bender did and had a weird family life like Bender did. So I connected. I guess the other beautiful part of that movie is that you can connect with all of them in some way, which is the genius of John Hughes.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I guess that is the entire point is that we are everybody. We are all of those things.
Well, I guess that's where, where I connect most with, like Brian Johnson or Claire.
Yep.
Is I
Claire.
really Claire.
It's a family name. It's a fat girl's name.
I can see you really pushing maximum density in the next couple of years.
Thank you very much. I'm not fat. Well, not at present.
But like I really cared what people thought about me in high school, and as stupid as that was, I really like that was one of my biggest things. I mean, I had I don't give a fuck attitude, but deep down inside I really cared what people thought about me in high school.
That's all of us.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes a long time if you ever get there to actually not care what people think about you. And I feel like I'm at a place in my life where I really don't care what people think. If the people that I care about like me and respect me, that is all I care about. I don't give a shit what people on Twitter think. I don't give a shit what friends of friends think. If the people I care about know me, then I'm good. I can go. I can sleep good at night knowing that. Quickly, as far as Back to the Future, I got asked this question tonight, whether I preferred T1 or T2. And I would say the same question applies to Back to the Future 1, Back to the Future 2. Let's end on breaking down which one of those you prefer for each of the franchises. I want to talk about Terminator and Back to the Future quickly. Let's talk Back to the Future. Do you prefer Back to the Future 1 or Back to the Future 2?
Back to the Future 2. All the way.
No question, no hesitation.
Back to the Future 2 all the way. No question asked. Now, don't get me wrong. Back to the Future 1 is an amazing film. Mm-hmm. And you wouldn't have Back to the Future 2 without Back to the Future 1. But I think for me, and this is, I think for me, because I saw Back to the Future 2 more as a child, because, all right, so 1985, Back to the Future 1 came out. 1989, Back to the Future 2?
I'm going to say 88.
Or was it 80? Yeah.
Ooh, Jesus.
I was born in 86. So
when did Back to the Future 2 come out?
Which one?
89. You were right.
89.
Yep.
All right. So I was 3. I was able to start making memories at that point.
Okay.
And I think 1989 was a big year for me. 1989 was I saw Batman.
Yeah, I was going to say Batman came out in the theater that year. Last Crusade also.
The Last Crusade and Back to the Future 2, which I saw Back to the Future 2 and Batman in the drive-in. So I remember seeing on the big screen the Jaws, the Jaws 19 thing like come down and just like everybody flying. And I don't know, like that is like the pivotal Back to the Future movie. Now, don't get me wrong. I will watch Back to the Future 1 like nobody's business. I will watch it. But the one I get goosebumpy and like excited about is when I see when Back to the Future 2 is on,
Back to the Future 2 is great because it's so much more of like a crazy story of like, holy shit, what happened? He did what? Gray's Sports Almanac. Yeah.
Actually, and because of that movie, that's when they started the likeness laws. Because they use Crispin Glover's likeness without his permission.
Right.
And because of that film, you have to have permission to use somebody's likeness.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Because Crispin fucking sued Universal.
Another lesser known fact of that movie, Flea is in that playing Needles, the guy that
Needles
Fly works for, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Back to the Future 2 is yours. It might be mine too. I have a really hard time deciding between part 1 and part 2 because, like Terminator,
dude, those Nike mags.
Oh, amazing!
Those Nike mags,
amazing.
The fucking self-drying jacket.
Mm-hmm. Your jacket is now dry.
Yeah,
fucking great. But Back to the Future 1 is like Terminator 1 for me because they both set the tone for the franchise.
Yeah.
Like you said, you can't have one without the other. But Back to the Future 2 is a much bigger, more in-depth, more thinky story than part 1. And T2 is kind of the same, where the effects of the first movie have created way more problems in part 2 for each of them.
Yeah.
And you think about T2 is T2, by far the bigger blockbuster, but
it's by far the bigger. But see, here's the thing: the main differences between Back to the Future 2 and T2. You don't need to watch the first Terminator movie to love and enjoy and understand what's going on in Terminator 2.
I wonder if that's true. I'm trying to think about it.
I mean, dude, I saw T2 before I saw Terminator 1.
Oh, that's
but then
shame.
Again, that's your age range. Yeah. They came out 93?
That was 91.
91.
Yep.
All right.
That was 91. And I was born in 79. So when Terminator came out in 84, Back to the Future came out in 85. So by 86, 87, those are both in heavy rotation on HBO when I was 6 and 7 years old. So I was loving that shit. So by the time the sequels came out for those movies, I had seen the first ones of both of them 20, 30 times. Because as a kid, being asthmatic, I didn't play sports. So all I did was fucking watch movies at home all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, T2, I think you'd want to see the first one first because Sarah Connor is such a different character in part 2 than she is in part 1. Like in part 1, she's basically, when someone did the math, and she's supposed to be like 19 in that movie. Like she's like a kid.
In the first Terminator?
Yeah, she's supposed to be like a late teens or maybe 20 years old.
Yeah.
And she's a vulnerable, a waitress at Bob's Big Boy who all of a sudden finds out that she is the key to the future. But by part 2, she's fucking G.I. Jane, just kicking ass all over the place. So
I don't know, I can count on one hand how many times I've seen the Terminator, but like T2, there's just dude, you got like Robert Patrick.
Yeah.
Just that the cast is so much bigger, and it's just like, oh shit, the Terminator's actually good now, and then they got to fight the T-1000, and dude, for 91, those visual effects don't suck.
Oh, they're mind blowing. I mean, that was James Cameron kind of invented that CGI for that movie. Oh, there you go. Look at that, the thing, dude. Yeah. Hell yeah, incredible movie. But yeah, the liquid metal, and I think they wanted to do that movie a little bit earlier, but he had to wait, kind of like you did with Avatar. He had to wait a little while for technology to do what he wanted it to do. Otherwise, it would have sucked. But even the look of T2, how it's like, overall, it's a very blue movie. There's a cool blue hue to the whole movie. Yeah,
kind of like how the Matrix, there's like a hue of green throughout the whole thing.
Right, and just from the
you hear half a second of that, you know what that is.
You know what the fuck is up.
Yeah.
You know what the fuck is up. When's the last time you watched T2?
Oh, I've definitely watched it within the last year.
Okay. I watched it maybe 2 years ago, maybe a year ago, and tried to watch it with fresh eyes as if I didn't know what happened. And I didn't realize, I'd forgotten that if you didn't know better, you assume that both Terminators are bad guys in it until Arnold saves John Connor, until they're at the mall. But if you didn't know better, you would think that he was a bad guy.
Well, I think that was kind of the tone for the whole thing anyway, because if you haven't seen that movie, Arnold comes in, he's like, give me your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle. And he's throwing people on stoves and like hitting people with pool cues. And, like he steals someone's bike. That's not something typically a hero would do.
Mm-hmm.
But because you don't think about that, because you're like, oh shit, if you saw the first one and you saw Arnie coming in hot, and then, a few frames later, we see this other homie come in who fucking fucks up a cop and then like gets in the cop uniform. They're like, oh, there's two of them now. Yeah. And then you don't know shit until fucking Arnie takes the sawed off the shotgun out of the flower thing and starts shooting the other one. You're like, oh God, oh, he's saving him. He's saving him. He's good now.
I swear I will not kill anyone.
Yeah.
But good shit, man. All right, let's wrap this one up for tonight. And we're gonna talk a lot more movies over the course of the month. I have a list of things I want to talk about tonight we didn't get to, but we're gonna have a good time. Follow Kyle at KS Konkiel on social media, KONKIEL. Subscribe to his podcast, please. It's called Just STFU. You can find it anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Find him on YouTube as well. He does a bunch of if you're a musician that likes to see how things are broken down, go watch him play bass. It's fascinating on YouTube. He also does it on his Instagram. You do a lot of Q&As on your Instagram, which is really fun. You're someone like me where I think you really enjoy connecting with people and connecting with your fans and your supporters. It's a fun way to kind of keep in touch, and you do a lot of that. So please, all my listeners, please welcome Kyle to the family. He's going to be around for a while. He's a great dude. I've known him for a long time. He's always supported me. I've always supported him, and I hope that you guys become fans of Kyle as well. And you were going to say something, sir. What was that?
Also, if you want to get real close and personal with me and the rest of the Bad Wolves, boys, you can, we have a Patreon, so you can go to patreon.com/Bad Wolves. We do Q&As every week. We have exclusive behind the scenes material, unreleased songs, merch that you can only get through our Patreon. And we're going to be adding a lot more stuff to that soon. So you can, check out our Patreon and be sure to follow us on Instagram as well. Bad Wolves Official.
Beautiful. Now, quickly with the Patreon stuff, I started a Patreon for this show in November or December, so maybe October. I forget what it was.
Yeah.
Aside from the fact that it gives you a little bit of financial backing for whatever your endeavor is, I find that to be now my favorite place to interact with people that support this show.
Yeah, because they're the ones that are actually they're the ones that care enough to be the ones that, because dude, if you had an Instagram for Rare Form Radio or Twitter, and it's you wanted to do a live Q&A, you're just gonna get you're gonna have people who do care about your product and your brand, but you're also gonna get a lot of clowns too. Sure. And that's the one thing I do appreciate about services like Patreon, is that you get the people who really want to be there, and you can release cool shit. And I feel like you can be a little bit more of yourself than you can be in the public eye, because it's these people already kind of know who you are. They already like you. So it's not like you're not trying to impress anybody who's already on the Patreon. Mm-hmm. And you can build a closer fan base of people who are maybe like-minded or not, or maybe just enjoy your point of view,
I love it. I really, really do love it. I think you said it best. It's the people that really want to be there, and the people that, they're not casual people. They're people that really want to support what you're doing. And I know that for
they're
myself,
not fair weather fans,
right? I definitely, when I do some Patreon exclusive content, and I want to start doing more and more and different stuff, I definitely cater it more towards the hardcore fans. And I fucking love it. And has it been overly positive for you guys? Has it been awesome for you guys?
I mean, it's definitely helped us this past year, and it's given us a platform. And, unfortunately, when certain members leave bands, some people decide that they're going to follow the singer, you know, and that's totally fine. You know, if you've supported us throughout the year and decided that you don't want to support us anymore without our lead singer, thank you for the time that you've given us and the support that you've given us during that time. We appreciate it. And the people that have stuck around, we appreciate it even more. You know, it's given me avenues to do stuff like t-shirts and goofy guitar picks with my face on them, and, you know, and have an online store where I can, you know, make a little bit of cash and, you know, and it's just nice because, like, you know, I do live Q&As typically every Monday, and just getting to know people and kind of having like my own little, like, this is kind of what you see, what you're looking at right now, me on our Patreon. You know, I've got a Ecamm Live account, so it's like a OBS, and, you know, I play music, I talk about, you know, stuff a little bit more personal than I would on, you know, say Instagram, and, you know, and I kind of just literally sit there and talk for an hour. Like, sometimes I'll jam, but like those are like the real special times where I'm jamming, because like I said, your boy can fucking talk. So I literally just like sit there, talk, answer questions, and kind of just like go over what's been going on. Like, you know, I hadn't been on for like a month and a half, and, you know, I came on, you know, last Monday or Tuesday, and I had a lot of shit to say. You know, and I can talk more freely about certain things that I can't talk about publicly. Right. You know, like I have something going on very special with one of the companies I'm working with. Now, I can't talk about it publicly. It doesn't mean I can't put it on the Patreon.
Right. That's what I love most about Patreon is I know that for me, I definitely I pull back the curtain more for the people there to kind of let them know what I'm working on, what's coming up. People get shows, you know, depending on what tier you are. There's 5 tiers now, from $5 to $100. But depending on what you do, you get shows early. You get access to video content. You get, you know, bumped up the list as far as like your importance of your questions and that kind of stuff. I love it.
So as co-host of the month, dude, does that mean like I get to participate in these tiers too? It's like $150. Kyle will show you his butthole.
If you will show your butthole to my listeners, I will definitely make a butthole tier where it's just like, and you and I go 50-50 on the butthole tier, and 1 month only, the KK butthole tier. And we can see where it goes.
Oh wait, I forgot. That's OnlyFans, not Patreon.
The same shit. I mean, you can show nudity, I think, on Patreon. I haven't gone there yet.
It has to be. I think it has to be a little bit more artistic. You can't spread the puss or your butthole.
Then just paint your asshole blue or something, and it's no big deal. Or like this is what we're gonna do. This is, by the way, we're doing this. We are going to put some kind of ink or paint on your asshole. And we're going to put a piece of paper in there, and you're going to close your cheeks, and it'll be like a little blot, a little like art blotter of, I should do this with every co-host I have of the month. We should do butthole blotters and sell them on the Patreon.
Jesus Christ. What did I get myself into?
If you want to see Kyle's asshole, go to patreon.com/rareformradio, and you'll be looking at his butthole in no time. It's going to be great. I've heard great things about his asshole.
Dan, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you bringing me on as your co-host of the month. You know, I've been a big supporter of you for a long time. I've been a big fan of the show.
Thank you.
For a long time, and you know, I do really appreciate, you know, being a part of the Rare Form family now. So thank you very much.
Welcome, dude. And obviously, I think people know by now that the first show we do is kind of like getting to know you, and as we go on, we're just kind of going to co-host this thing and talk about a bunch of different shit. Different things on our mind, different things in the news, and whatever the fuck. So next week we'll come in fresh with some new ideas, new stories, talk about some shit. And in the meantime, stay healthy and play some video games. I'm gonna go. I've been dipping back into Red Dead Redemption 2 lately.
I got a PS5.
You did?
Yeah.
I'll save it. I if I start talking about it now, we're gonna go another hour because I'm free. Wait a minute, because the other day you were stressing about not wanting to pay too much to get one. Did you fucking pay too much to get one?
I got it from GameStop. Retail, baby.
All right. I'm going to text you when we're done here because I want to figure out what the fuck I have to do.
Oh, I'll get you.
All right, cool. Kyle, thank you very much. Everyone, thank you for listening. Please go sub to all of Kyle's stuff. He's a really good human being, a talented motherfucker, and a funny dude, and you'll find that out over the next few weeks. Kyle, thank you. Everyone else, we'll see you next week. And remember that tomorrow is just the future's yesterday. See you. Bye, everybody. See you.
This is Lola, and I'm here to tell the world to stop being such pussies and listen to Rare Form Radio.